Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Very clear on the backside of the sun, and then the earth is rotating, the sun is hitting, the earth is rotating around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth now. The solar wind is also
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome you all here to our program tonight. As we've been doing for quite some time, we're going to start off this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem. Would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
America's finest, the United States Military Army Barbershop Quartet, singing the nation's national anthem in 2015 at the Barbershop Quartet Convention. We appreciate these men and women who serve our country in our country's uniform. We appreciate them. We thank them for their service. I also want to thank the men and women of our allied armed forces, wherever they might be throughout this world. May they all return home safely to your families after your tours of duty end. And God bless you for that. Thank you so much for everything all of you do for all of us. Folks, we have quite a bit we want to cover tonight. I want to talk about a few things before we really get into this. First off, one of the things that everybody's seen here as of the past couple days, we told you that we were going to get hit Sunday night into Monday morning with auroras. It was a moderate G class or G4 class, G5 class solar flare that erupted from the sun on Friday. The immediate proton energy hit our Earth's atmosphere on Friday, going into Saturday. However, the plasma radiation did not. That plasma radiation arrived Sunday night, going into Monday, and I believe we're also still getting part of it right now today. I've seen evidence of that on the ham radios. I've seen evidence of that while I've been monitoring police and fire and paramedic radios. I've also seen some evidence of it air-to-ground communication with our space station today. I've also been monitoring our television here in our home here, and it's had its problems. So we're still being affected by that plasma radiation. However, Sunday night at midnight, the sun also let off a medium class flare, an M class flare, M1 class flare. It's not as strong as one might believe. The G class flare should have been less strong, but the PK or KP index was much higher. That's the reason we set off alarms and alerts about that flare Sunday night, Monday morning. This one that launched Sunday night was not that strong, even though it was a medium class flare. Not that big a deal. But Sunday night we had auroras to beat the band. We had semi-cloudy skies here where I live. We did not see it here in North Carolina where I live. However, just up north in Virginia and West Virginia, they saw what you see here, and this was in the morning. This picture was taken in the morning in Virginia. Incredible vista showing the auroras in Virginia. Incredible. This has been one of the first times that I can remember that the auroras came this far south. The first time that I can remember they came this far south. When I lived in Sweden, when I served in Sweden, we had auroras all the time. It was absolutely stunningly beautiful. This is the first I've seen it in a lot of years. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was cool. It was wonderful. I've had a lot of people reporting on it over in Phoenix, in Tucson. I've had people in Nevada that we showed you the other night, last night actually. I'm showing this one in Virginia. It's absolutely stunning. It's great. Anyway, we may still see some of that going forward. Today, I wanted to report on this because this is not an emergency, but one of our allies, Japan, last week launched a rocket to the moon. And they were going to have an automated robot land on the moon today. Well, folks, unfortunately, something happened. And that spacecraft did not land on the moon as they had expected. In fact, it may have crashed. We don't know what exactly happened. Japan Space Agency doesn't know what happened. And they are still pulling in data, trying to find out what happened. The last they knew, their spacecraft was headed towards a landing, meaning it was on a trajectory. It was on a trajectory to land. And sometime while it was speeding probably close to 8,000 miles per hour across the lunar surface, it encountered a problem. And there was no telemetry after that. Something happened, it did not land. It may have crashed on the moon. Now, this particular picture you see of Hakudo R, Mission 1, at the bottom of this spacecraft. There was another spacecraft that was going to be lowered down to the lunar surface. A rover, a very small rover. And they had all sorts of cool instruments that they were going to explore on the surface with. But that's not going to happen now. Like I said, Japan is doing its best to pull in the telemetry data to try to investigate what happened. Okay? So that's what happened with Japan and the spacecraft from Japan. Meantime, Elon Musk's spacecraft is back on the drawing boards. Okay? They were going to launch, they did launch one of the world's, well, actually the world's largest rockets ever. Twice the power of a Saturn V rocket that launched our men to the moon in 1969, 70, 71, and 72. Twice that large. It had 39 Raptor engines. It got past what they call max Q, which is maximum aerodynamic pressure on the entire rocket vehicle, including the spacecraft, while it is en route to orbit. It just got past that at approximately 80 seconds after launch, 85 seconds after launch. Just past there, they noticed the rocket slightly tilting. And about a minute and a half after launch, the rocket was not just tilting, but it was headed over. And it cartwheeled through the sky, just like this. And we lost completely touch with the rocket, and Elon Musk and SpaceX had to remotely destroy that rocket. Now, they have plenty of rockets to spare. They have been building rockets. This was a test launch that Elon Musk did last week. It launched. Anything past clearing the rocket's tower was gravy, they said. Once it gets past the tower axis, it's gravy. They did launch it, yes. But even at launch, 6 of the rocket engines were not running. And they could have probably achieved orbit even without those 6 engines. But again, SpaceX is monitoring that event right now, and they will probably come up with something in the next couple weeks and let everybody know what happened. But again, it was basically a successful launch of SpaceX's Starship rocket spacecraft. The rocket was a 39-engine rocket, the first stage. The rocket basically was blown up because the second stage was not able to separate from the first stage of the rocket. And I think that's basically what happened. We're going to see what happened there. But everybody got a spectacular show down there in Texas. Unreal. So anyway, that's what's going on there. Now, I have quite a bit I would like to discuss with you today. The first thing I want to do to discuss, or first thing I want to discuss with you is this. Okay? This is a seismogram coming from Mount Constitution. Mount Constitution is approximately 40 miles, well actually 30 miles southwest of Mount Baker. This particular seismogram, guys, was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. This was before the powers that be, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and USGS, cut us off from actual data. Okay, that's why I want to show you this. I told you it sometime a while back that I was going to show you seismograms of what we used to see on an everyday basis from these volcanoes up in the Pacific Northwest. But now they limit us with the data, and they falsify data so it makes us think that nothing's going on. This was typical. Every day that we pulled up information from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, every day Mount Constitution and Mount Baker would show this very same activity. Not the same seismogram, but the same activity. Okay? Now what you're seeing here is not just earthquakes. Yes, there are quite a few earthquakes on this seismogram. But folks, look closely. Look closely at the colors here. That's why I'm showing it to you. Look closely at the colors. Okay? Let me enlarge this for you. Okay? Look closely at the colors. What are we showing you? This is steam. A lot of this, probably 80% of this, is steam coming out of Mount Constitution. Okay? This is very typical of what we showed you 2 years ago, before the powers that be basically turned us off, or turned their equipment off, not allowing us to see what's going on. And even today, they don't show much of anything going on at Mount Constitution because they've shut the seismograph off. Okay? But this is typical of what we saw every day at Mount Constitution, at Mount Baker, and even another volcano that I'm going to show you right now. Okay? I went back through my records and pulled information. That's how I got this. Okay? I want to show you Mount Rainier. Look at this. Folks, this is a seismograph, or seismogram. Seismogram is the paper here, the document. The seismograph is the machine that recorded this document. Look what we have here. This is typically what we'd see at Camp Sherman on this seismogram. Okay? We're seeing a lot of steam here. There's also tremors and earthquakes that are hitting here. But this was the same kind of thing that we saw top to bottom, side to side on every seismogram. Okay? Now you can see when I show you the seismograms from these mountains going forward, you're going to understand what these agencies have done. It's felonious. It's felonious. We pay taxes to these people. No, I don't work or live in Washington. However, our taxes, our hard-earned public taxes, go to pay these people to do the job. And that we pay for these machines to operate. And yet they don't, because the seismologists have been told not to show this information, not to be honest with what's going on. This was what was happening 2 years ago. It's still happening today, but they're just not showing it to us. That's Mount Rainier. Let me show you a typical seismogram coming from this is Studebaker Ridge at Mount St. Helens. This is on an average day what we'd see at Studebaker Ridge. But again, the agency's not showing it to us. They want to pretend that nothing's going on. Nothing's going on. The top of this seismogram started off at 5 p.m. the night before. Okay? Then it rolls throughout the day into the night, and it becomes 000 hours down here in the middle of the night. Okay? You can see it here. 000 hours is midnight. Okay? So up until just about 10 p.m., it was very busy. We had earthquakes, we had tremors, and we had steam coming from these mountains, from these volcanoes. In this case, Mount St. Helens. Then they turned the seismograph down for many hours. When they turned it back up again, we were recording information again. Look at that. This is just after 1 a.m. that morning. Okay, this happens to be November 8th, 2021. Okay, November 8th, 2021. 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, I'm sorry, 2 years ago. And you're seeing what's going on. They let the seismograph run for 3 hours, and then they turn it down again. And then they turn it up, and again we see the same kind of energy hitting. Because the volcano didn't change. The volcano continued on its merry way. And you can see what's going on here. You can see the seismic energy build up. You can see each line here represents a time of 15 minutes. You can see the magma build up through every 15-minute period. And you can see tremors hitting. The magma inside the volcano fracturing rock, causing the tremors and the earthquakes. And you can see the steam here. These volcanoes are steaming. Okay? I found these seismograms and thought, my word, everyone needs to see this. So that's why I pulled this activity here. I think it's substantial activity. Okay? It's still ongoing if the agencies would leave things alone. Let the machines do their business without turning them down or turning them off like they're doing. It's a sad day when that happens, isn't it? It sure enough is. Now I've got a lot more to show you here. Okay? We've talked about the Garlock fault. We've talked about the San Andreas fault, how it runs from the Triple Junction area in the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone, from the northern coast of California. It comes down through California, past San Francisco, past Tres Pinos, past I'm trying to think of the names of the town now, or the towns, but it passes by Monterey Bay. It continues down past the earthquake capital of California, goes all the way down to the Garlock Fault. All the way down to the Garlock Fault. What happens, guys? What do you think happens? Okay? I'm about to show you something else. Okay? It's almost crazy. It's almost crazy. Okay? Let me show you this. Down on the Garlock Fault. The Garlock Fault connects over just south of Santa Barbara. It connects all the way up to Ridgecrest, right? That's where we had the Ridgecrest earthquake. Down here on the Garlock Fault, I just found this picture among the pictures and documents that I have shown you guys over the last 4 years. Okay, this is part of a ghost town on the Garlock Fault. This is what is remaining from a building that was built in the early 1900s on the Garlock Fault. And now all the buildings here in this area are nothing more than abandoned pieces of rock. Okay? Rock and adobe all throughout this area. Okay? This is what's left on the Garlock Fault. Okay? The town of Garlock is no more. It used to be. Anyway, guys, I'm going to drift away from some earthquakes right now. I'm going to take you to a time about 50 or 60 years ago. Okay? A time of the old crooners, so to speak. This is a tribute to someone that I never met. Someone whose music my parents loved and I grew to respect. I saw this man on television. Most of the networks covered his singing on television, live television, back in the day. He also appeared in movies. He also did few stunts by himself. This man is Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte. He passed away today at 98 years old. 98 years old. What a tribute to a man of distinction. Literally a man of distinction. Okay? Like I said, he was a crooner. He loved to sing. There was a song called Chances Are. Okay? Now, I only know a few words, but I'm not going to sing it. Harry Belafonte did a wonderful job. Harry Belafonte, dead today at 98 years old. Rest well, my friend. I hope to meet and see you sometime in the future. God bless you, Harry, and God bless your family. Harry was a great family man as well. Harry Belafonte dead at 98 years old today. Now, there's a lot more things that I want to talk about today. Okay? We have talked to you about the new Madrid fault, haven't we? We've actually done a great bit of reporting on the new Madrid fault. Okay? I want to show you this. This is Catfish Pond, Arkansas. I'm going to start this report with Arkansas first. Okay? Catfish Pond is just a small town in northeastern Arkansas. Okay? Northeastern Arkansas. Now, this seismogram started early this morning at midnight. You can see right off the bat just a few minor, very low-key tremor activity. 1.2, 1.3 tops. That's all there was. Then just after 3 in the morning, there was just barely 1.1 tremors. And it was continuous tremors. Okay? Those lasted for a while. Then they pulled back as well. Then we got to about 5 or 6 o'clock this morning. The tremor activity started up again. You can see it on this seismogram. Then about 8:15 on this red line. 8:15 starts off on the red line on the left-hand side. As we go over to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5 minutes later. Okay? This would be about 8:24 a.m. this morning. Okay? We had some tremor activity that built into an earthquake. Just barely a 2.1, 2.2 earthquake. Over here in the middle right of the slide here that you're seeing. You can see other tremor activity building up too. But we had that 2.0, 2.1, or 2.2 earthquake, didn't we? Then down here later, this is after 11:39 a.m. this morning. We have basically the same kind of thing happening, except in this case, there's multiple earthquakes. It starts off with some very light tremor activity, and it quickly builds into a full-blown earthquake. And this earthquake lasted about 10 or 15 seconds. Okay? 10 or 15 seconds. And you can see some seismic activity after that as well. Okay? This is a lot of activity at Catfish Pond, Arkansas. Now, why am I doing this? I'm trying to show you activity that's happening on the New Madrid Fault. Things have calmed down a little bit today, but they haven't in the past week. We've had a lot of seismic activity in the past week, just as we've shown you last week at this time last week. There was a lot of seismic activity all over the New Madrid Fault. Well, I'm going to show you what's going on. Things have calmed down a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to talk more about the New Madrid Fault. Folks, this is Catfish Pond this afternoon. It's substantially calmed down. Okay, all you see here in the middle of the afternoon is just some tremor activity, the build-up. It lasted about 2 or 3 minutes and died off several times. That was Catfish Pond. Let's pull over here to Marked Tree, Arkansas. Marked Tree, Arkansas. Okay, this is just south of Jonesboro, Arkansas. Look what we're seeing here. Okay, we start off this morning at midnight. Just some light tremor activity. Just after 1:05 this morning, all of a sudden we have some tremors building again, don't we? And the tremors build into a 1.8, 2.0 magnitude earthquake. 1.8 tremor / 2.0 earthquake. And look at the seismic signals that continued for 4 minutes. That's a lot of seismic activity. We had an earthquake. It calmed down, but there was still a lot of seismic activity that was released right here. Then again, okay, look what happened after 1 a.m. this morning. Again, 1:15 a.m. this morning. Okay, it builds up again, it lasts, and it starts with tremors that last 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then it turns into a 2.0 earthquake, and multiple 2.0 earthquakes. Those earthquakes lasted 2 minutes. 2 minutes of constant shaking. Minor earthquake level, but constant shaking. Okay? Look at the other seismic activity here. Okay? Marked Tree, Arkansas is still very active. Let's go down here to later this morning. You can see what I'm talking about here. Okay? I know you're seeing what I'm talking about. These are full-blown earthquakes. This one in the green. This one in the green. This happened after 8:30 or 8:45 this morning. And actually, if it gets right down to brass tacks, this is actually 8:55 a.m. this morning. 8:55 a.m. this morning. We have a 3.3 magnitude earthquake. And it lasts about 5 seconds. Okay? These are reportable earthquakes. They weren't reported. They were felt, but they weren't reported. This one on this black line, okay, that's 9 a.m. this morning. Over here on the right, 9 a.m. on the left, over here. This is about 9:12 a.m. this morning. Again, we're looking at a 3.0, 3.2 earthquake. And there were multiple quakes. You see two distinct P waves here, primary waves. Primary waves. Okay? One earthquake hit and then another. All right? That's what you see here. Let's show you Mark Tree this afternoon. Things calmed down a little bit, but guess what? We have 4 distinct earthquakes, and guess what? Over here on the right on this green line, this is 2:58 a.m. or excuse me, 2:58 p.m. this afternoon on this green line. Just before, actually that's not true, it's 1:58 p.m. Okay? We have 2.0 earthquakes. And then it continues over on the left-hand side. Okay? Incredible. But here, over on the left-hand side here, this is just before 1:02 p.m. this afternoon. 2 separate and distinct quakes. One lasted probably 2 seconds, the other one just a second. Okay? And before that, on the 12:30 line here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 12:36 this afternoon. Okay? That's a 3.0 earthquake. And subsequent 2.3, 2.4 earthquake after that. A secondary wave. Okay? Then after 1 p.m. this afternoon, we actually had 2 earthquakes. We showed you that first one there at 1:02. Then we come over here. This one is at like 1:10 p.m. About 1:10, 1:11 p.m. today. Again, that's a 3.0 earthquake. And down here at the 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m. line here on the black line, and then we move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes later. Okay? 4:05 p.m. We have another 3.3 magnitude earthquake. Okay? Not reported. USGS is not reporting this. The seismograms come from the University of Memphis Seismology Department. They're reportable earthquakes, but nobody's talking about them. Okay? Why am I being so specific here? Why should I care? Because, folks, the New Madrid fault is moving. It's continuing to move. Do you know what I'm saying? It's continuing to move. Scientists are saying that this earthquake on the New Madrid fault could literally happen at any moment. They're not saying 1 year, 5 years, 25 years now, because of everything that's going on, they're saying it's an imminent earthquake waiting to happen. An imminent earthquake waiting to happen. Let's go south of Marktree. This is Tyronza, Arkansas. Okay, Tyronza, Arkansas this morning. Up at the top is midnight. Okay, then we go down about 4 hours after 4 a.m. this morning. What do we see here? We have a bunch of tremors, don't we? And throughout the morning, the tremors become earthquakes. The tremors here at Tyronza, Arkansas become earthquakes. And this, folks, is on the eastern side of Arkansas. The eastern side of Arkansas, right alongside the fault line. So now you're seeing these earthquakes. 2 years ago, all we saw were tiny tremors, and that's all. This kind of activity did not happen 2 or 3 years ago. Okay? I did not even start reporting on this until the end of 2021. November 2021 was the first time I started really reporting on it, because nothing was going on, which is tremors. Now, guys, a year and a half later, what are we seeing? We've gone from tremors to full-blown earthquakes. We've gone from tremors to full-blown earthquakes. 3.0 and large earthquakes. Look at these large earthquakes here. There's one earthquake this morning at just after 6:30 this morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just about 6:35 this morning. You can see it on the blue line there. 6:35 this morning. At least a 2.8, 2.9, if not a 3.0 earthquake. And then they continue. One line down on the, or 2 lines down on the black line. That's 6 a.m. this morning. No, that's 8 a.m. this morning. Nearly 5 minutes after 8 a.m. The earthquakes start. It starts with tremors and immediately goes to a 3.0 earthquake. Then it dies down to tremors again, and less than a minute and a half later, we have a reinstigation of seismic activity all the way up to a 3.0 earthquake. And there were multiple P waves. 3 P waves, one 3.0 after another in this case. Okay, that's a lot of shaking. Bam, 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 bam. These earthquakes were felt, but not reported. And you can see these others here. Okay, yes, we have some Tues. We have some tremors as well. By Tues, I mean 2.0, 2.3, 2.4 earthquakes, minor earthquakes. 3s are getting to be small earthquakes. 3.0, 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes. But they are felt. They're unnerving when it happens. Many of you have been in a small earthquake. 3.0, 3.5 earthquake. That's what we're seeing here. Then we drop down to 11 a.m. this morning on the left-hand side. What do we see? Going to the left. After 11 a.m. this morning, we go over to the center of the seismogram here. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes later. 8 minutes later, we have another 3 3.2, 3.3 magnitude earthquake. This is significant. This is very significant. It's very significant, guys. Heather said in the chat, don't mention the D-man on this channel. Okay? Please don't. Please don't mention the D-man here. I don't want to be taken down. I appreciate you all being here. Monica Bellamy is here. Hurricane Heather. Diana's here. Kimberly's here. My buddy Sage Pup is here. Thank you so much. Grace for Purposes here. Starbright Pam. Linda Covington's here. Wolfman's here. Rob is here. We appreciate that. My buddy Don Patoki is here. Awaken's here. Let's see, who else is here? Grace for Purpose. Richard Smith is here. Hope Taylor is here. Thank you so much. Vicky K is here. We appreciate Vicky being here. Thank you so much for that. Storm Rider is here. Melba Hanska is here. Thank you so much. Sue Lehman's here. Mark Graham Coombs is here. Nice to see you on the night on the right day, Carol. Mark from Cornwall. Appreciate you here. I'm just looking here. My buddy Nathan Hester's here. We appreciate that. S. Nord is here. Thank you so much for being here. Hacksaw's here. Renee Steppe is here. Thank you so much for that. May Edwards is here. Wanda Weber's here. Thank you so much, Wanda. Good to see you. And my buddy Juanito from over in the Imperial Valley in Southern California is here. We appreciate that, Juanito. Thank you so much. Charles Helm is here. Great to see you. Carolyn Martin from my great place in Denver. Carolyn Martin and I have been very good friends over the years. Rebecca Griffiths, one of my dear friends from New Mexico, is here. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, guys, we have a lot of people here. I'm glad. This is what's going on over in the New Madrid Fault. Seismic energy is building. It's building to a great level. Now soon we're going to have 4s here. 4s are moderate earthquakes that can cause some minor damage. Okay? Pictures falling off the walls. Knickknacks falling off the shelves. Books coming down off the shelves. If your TV is not secured to the wall, to the studs behind your drywall, your TV could fall off of a shelf. Okay? Minor damage. You might get some cracked drywall with a 4.0 plus earthquake. Once it gets up to 5.0 in that area above that, those are large earthquakes. 5.0, 5.9 are considered to be large earthquakes. It's building, guys. It's building. What you're seeing here could become dangerous. It could become dangerous very quickly. And yet the agencies aren't telling anybody. People are feeling this seismic energy, but nobody's being told what's going on. Oh, it's shaking a little bit. Maybe a truck rolled by. Maybe an airplane rolled by. Nobody really knows unless we tell them. They need to be on the lookout for a big earthquake. It's coming. This is Tyronza, Arkansas this afternoon. Again, we have a lot of earthquakes here. 2.0 and large earthquakes up to 3.2. nearly a 3.2 here this afternoon. Seismic energy didn't stop, not at all. Renee Steffi says Fox News overplaying on program. That's interesting. Maybe I ought to talk about Fox News. Yes, I do have things to report about Fox News. It's too bad. It's really sad. It's really sad about Fox News. Anyway, let's go up the New Madrid Fault to the north. Let's take a look at Indiana. This is Evansville, Indiana, folks. We have nothing more than tremors here. Very, very light tremors. Maybe 1.0 tremors building up to 1.2, 1.3 throughout the morning. That's all that happened here in Evansville, Indiana. That's it. That's all that happened here in Evansville, Indiana. Okay? How about New Harmony, Indiana? Like this morning. Okay? For the good part of the morning from midnight until 10 a.m., it's all false data. All this gibberish from black to thin black, from red, light red, to darker red. Thicker lines here. It's bull crap. You can see the horizontal lines going through here. It's all bull crap. It's what they call artifact. Artifact. But what you see down here after 10, between 10 p.m. and 11:59 a.m. this morning, that's all fact. Okay? That's all fact. You can see seismic energy hitting here. This is all mostly minor tremors and some 2.0, 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes, especially down here at the bottom on the green line. Okay? We're talking 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes here this morning. Okay? So even in northern Indiana, we're seeing seismic energy on the New Madrid Fault. It's happening, guys. In Indiana, just 2 years ago, we were lucky to see any of this. It just was not happening. When I did my first disaster drill in Little Rock, Arkansas in 2011, it was the anniversary of the New Madrid Fault going. At least a 7.1 earthquake. Okay? December 1811 to January 1811. Okay? At least a 7.1 earthquake. Caused a lot of damage up and down the entire fault, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. But hardly anybody lived here. Hardly anybody lived here. Even up into Indiana, hardly anybody lived here. Yes, the people that lived in cabins and rode horses, they felt that earthquake. They felt that earthquake all over. But folks, nobody bothered knowing exactly what happened. They realized that the earth shook. Some of their cabins were destroyed. Their homes were destroyed. Over in Tennessee, over in Kentucky, a lot of stuff happened. In Tennessee, we saw the Mississippi River back up. The Mississippi River stopped flowing for 7.5 minutes. That created a lake that's still in existence today, Reelfoot Lake. Reelfoot Lake is a huge lake. In the bottom of it, we probably have a few cabins, people's homes. that were flooded out by the incoming water from the Mississippi River. And there's still a lake there today. Any homes that were destroyed not by water but by shaking. They either had to rebuild them or move. And that's what happened. Great big huge fractures opened up in the earth. Great big huge fissures opened up. Back in the day, there were horse paths, horse and cow paths, buggy paths. That's all they had to move about. Either that or hike out of there. There wasn't too much of that going on. But what paths were available, they had to go with hand work, meaning hard work, of filling in those holes that were left gaped open by the earthquake. They reestablished the roads out there. But instead of just having cow paths out there, now there are 2-lane blacktops. There's 2-lane blacktops out there. Now, what do you think is going to happen when this fault gives way again? Can anybody guess what's going to happen when the pneumatic fault gives way again? Those horse and buggy paths are 2-lane roadways. They're going to be destroyed again. There's not going to be any way out of the disaster area. No way. Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma is going to get hit. Indiana, Ohio, Illinois are going to be hit. Everything south of there along the Mississippi River, going south all the way to New Orleans and Mississippi, is going to get hit. And not just that. States west and east of the Mississippi are going to feel shaking, a great deal of shaking. Okay? All we know about the earthquake that happened in 1811, December 1811, January 1812, was that it was at least a 7.0 earthquake, 7.0, 7.1. It was probably a lot stronger. Any people's houses that burned down, their homes, their barns, or any other structures that burned down, they either did a bucket brigade trying to save those buildings, or the buildings were wiped out by fire and they had to rebuild. What's going to happen this next time? What do you think is going to happen this next time? Fire departments are only going to have that water which is in their trucks, because the water mains and gas mains are going to be broken by this earthquake. The roads would become impassable. Anybody that needs food or something from the stores will be gutted within the first few hours. Either the stores will be totally destroyed where you can't get anything out of the store, or they'll be gutted by people rushing in to get food and stuff to survive, but the store will not be able to be restocked, if ever. The only way you will be able to get into this area after the New Madrid earthquake is by helicopter, boat, or plane. There will be no other way to get foodstuffs or anything else except by boat, helicopter, or airplane. I can see helicopters making water drops on buildings that have been set afire. Homes set afire. People that are hurt, injured, or killed, guess what? The only medical supplies that are going to be there are either going to be yours or what's on board the fire trucks or police cars that are in that area. That's it. And there is no going back. Any more medical supplies will have to be helicoptered in. That'll be the only method of transportation. Hospitals, they'll do their best to take care of people as much as they can. But even our hospitals will have one heck of a hard time. Their backup generators will only go for so long. And they won't have much fuel as backup. That's how bad things are going to get. I'm only showing you a little bit of what's going on the New Madrid Fault today. Today. 2 years ago, we saw very little of anything going on here at Barker Cemetery. This is Barker Cemetery, November 2021. Okay? At the most, we were getting just tremors. On this particular seismogram, this is when we first realized that we had earthquakes moving in on the New Madrid Fault. Barker Cemetery is not that far east or west of the Mississippi River in Missouri. Yes, we saw tremors, but then all of a sudden we were seeing 2.0, even upwards of a 3.0 earthquake, which you see down here on the 11 o'clock line at the bottom of this seismogram here. That black line there, it's 11 a.m. this morning. We move over 4 minutes and we see these 3.0 earthquakes hitting. Not just once, but many times. It dies down for a few seconds and then strikes again and again and again. When this becomes a 7.0, 8.0, 9.0 earthquake, and it could very well be that when the New Madrid Fault hits. When it becomes that, guys, roadways are going to be destroyed. Homes are going to be destroyed. Stores, supermarkets are going to be destroyed. Cars will be virtually undrivable because they're going to either end up in a broken up fissure in the ground, or they're not going to be able to go much of anywhere else because the ground is too unstable. Okay? I'm just telling you guys, we have quite a few members of this EMA family that live around the New Madrid Fault, north to south. We have family members in the EMA family up in Indiana and Illinois. We have EMA families members down in Little Rock, Arkansas. We have them down into New Orleans. We talk to some of those people about once a month, once or twice a month. They tell us that they feel shaking. Sometimes I can't locate the shaking. They feel it. The New Madrid Fault is definitely moving. We've seen it. We have seen this. Are all of you ready for what's going to happen, guys? We've spent a great deal of time talking about the Cascadia events over on the West Coast. The Cascadia is setting off the San Andreas. The entire west coast of North America from Alaska south to Mexico. will be inundated with earthquakes. Terrible earthquakes. Fissures opening up. People being killed and injured. Homes and businesses destroyed by the earthquakes. This is exactly what we're going to see when the New Madrid earthquake opens up. Now, there are those of you and other people, not just you guys, there's those of you that have seen other people talk about the New Madrid fault triggering the San Andreas. Yes, I suppose that might be possible. However, this New Madrid fault is in the center of the United States, just a little bit east of center of the United States. Seismic energy does not usually flow to the west. It flows to the east and north. In this case, there may be some seismic energy felt all the way over into West Texas and possibly New Mexico. It's also going to be felt all the way up into Oklahoma and possibly Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, and south. We've seen it and we see it coming. We see it coming. Every day we see this happening. We can't deny it anymore. We know what is going on. And I'm trying to tell you guys what's going on and what we need to do to make sure we're ready. Kimberly Hopkins said that she lives in Northern California and they felt some tremors there the other day. I totally get that. I totally understand it. It's happening. It's happening. All the way up and down the entire West Coast. Barry Prince has told me in Terrace, British Columbia. He's told me that he has felt shaking going on there. This is nothing new. This is really nothing new. We have you folks of our family living in Washington and Oregon. You've also told me that you feel shaking there. And sometimes you folks have been scared. I totally understand that. That's why we keep telling you and showing you what is actually going on. I know what's happening. You also are very well aware of what's going on. And it's not going to stop. Now, I'm going to go over to the USGS map. I want to show you some worldwide information. Some worldwide information. Okay? Let's go over here to the east. Okay? And I see they've already taken it down. That's okay. That's okay. Over here in New Hampshire, this is a cool little town. It's called Center Sandwich, New Hampshire. This is a 2.9 earthquake. If we went north and west from here, maybe about 75 miles away, we would soon come to another town up there in northern Canada, in Quebec, Canada. We would soon come to another town that had an earthquake there. It's very interesting how USGS can automatically delete seismic activity off its maps. It's very interesting how this all happens. Now my device here doesn't appear like it wants to work. Come on, device. Just a second, I'm playing with this thing. I know I can bring this up. Sometimes it just needs coaxing. Go figure. Terrible thing. Okay. I want to show you something's going on. I thought this wouldn't go away, but it did. That's okay. Let's zoom in here. Again, this is Center Sandwich, New Hampshire, right here. If we went about 75 miles to the north, this would take us up into Quebec, Canada. There was a 1.9 earthquake tremor there. I call it an earthquake because 1.9 is a 0.9, right? And I usually take it up at least 1 percentage point more. That makes it at least a 2.0. So we had a 2.0 magnitude earthquake up here in Quebec. Then, folks, several hundred miles later, still going further north up here. Still going further north. Right up here. Right up in here. We had a 3.9 earthquake right up in here. Today, a 3.9 magnitude earthquake. Now, while the 3.0 to 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes, when I see a 3.9, what do I think? You guys know what I think. It's not a 3.9 small earthquake. It's at least a 4.0 earthquake, maybe even a 4.1, which is a moderate earthquake. A low-grade moderate earthquake, okay, can cause small damage, minor damage, okay? This happens, folks. It happens more than we want to think about it, okay? Now tomorrow I will bring up this evidence again and show you on the Canadian map, because the Canadians don't erase it like the US does. Sad. Just really sad. Okay? It's unreal. Let's go down here into southern Texas here. Okay? Way down into southern Texas. Southern Texas. Okay? Way down here in southern Texas, where you are really Texan down here. You're southern Texas in Pleasanton, Texas. Okay? This, folks, is a 2.1 earthquake. A 2.1 earthquake. Already you see this earthquake, and I have not totally begun zooming in on this area. Okay? What do you see here? You see these tiny horizontal blocks here. Those horizontal blocks are oil pumping areas. Pads. Oil and gas pumping pads with gas pumps and jacks all throughout this area. Well, folks, guess what? This particular earthquake was literally right next to some earthquakes here. Not earthquakes, I'm sorry, oil and gas pads. Oil and gas pads. Okay? Now I can't zoom in any closer. You can just barely see those oil and gas pads right there. Well, I'm zooming in even closer. Okay? This is that same 2.1 magnitude earthquake that I'm trying to show you on the USGS map. Just north of there is a pump and jack. Right there is that 2.1 earthquake that we're trying to show you. You can just barely see that pump and jack pad there. Okay, let me zoom in here. I want to show you this. There, folks, is the pump and jack right there. You can see it right there. That's a pump and jack on that pad. All throughout this area, there are oil and gas pumping operations. All throughout Texas, there are oil and gas pumping operations. This is just one such area. Okay? And I zoom out, you can see even more. If there is a pump and jack within 10 miles of one of these pads, this is an oil and gas earthquake, which it was. It's a 2.1 magnitude earthquake, minor earthquake. We go up into Oklahoma, and there's actually 3 earthquakes here earlier. There were 3 earthquakes here earlier. This particular one is near Blanchard, Oklahoma. This one here, this one is in Kearney, Oklahoma. And I don't remember, the other one was just east of Kearney. But we'll look at this. We'll look at this. Okay, this one here in Kearney. Let's zoom in here. Okay. I just love this. I really do. We can't zoom in any closer. Yes, we can. Okay. Right there you can see 2 pumping pads. Okay. And you can see a thoroughfare carved with probably picks and shovels that opens it up so some small trucks can get through there between the 2 pumping rigs there. Okay? Through the trees there. You also see down here to the right here. Down here to the right. You see another pad there. Okay? This is just a 1.1 magnitude tremor as a result of oil and gas exploration in Oklahoma. This was in Kearney, Oklahoma. This is in Blanchard, Oklahoma. This was a 1.7 tremor. Okay? A 1.7 tremor. I lost my earthquake. Where'd it go? Right there. This is a 1.7 tremor. Already you can see some pumping operations going on here, down to the right and just below that. Okay? See 2 pads there. I see several other pads up here. Okay? This pad here looks like it was abandoned. It doesn't matter whether it's abandoned or it's actually being used now. The hole in the ground was put there by man. A deep hole into the ground to pull oil and gas out of. Since that hole still exists, you would naturally think that seismic energy, when it finds it, would also cause rock fracturing in the hole, the man-made earthquake fault, which it does. Okay, so there's that one there. There's another one right here to the west of there. There's pumps and gas drilling going all over this area. This is another oil and gas earthquake. 1.7 tremor here. All throughout Oklahoma. In Oklahoma there's I'm told there's 558,000 oil jacks and pumps all throughout Oklahoma. And there's even more into Kansas. More into Kansas and even more in Texas. Texas started it all. Texas started it all. Over here in southwestern Texas, guys. Southwestern Texas. This is Toya, Texas. There's a small cache of earthquakes here. look at all the pumps and jacks all over this area. Okay? There's 7 tremors here. 7 tremors. This one's a 3.2. That's an earthquake. This is a 2.2. That's an earthquake. And this one is in Mentone, Texas. 2.2 Mentone, Texas. This is a 3.2, a small earthquake. That's a 2.1. Further south here, this is a 2.4 in Toyah, Texas. Going north, this is a 2.1 in Mentone, Texas as well. So we have a small swarm there going in Mentone, Texas. We've seen this before. And now they've turned off my map. Well, I'm not done here. I want to show you some more earthquakes here, and so I'm going to resurrect this map. So I figured out what to do with it. They can turn it off and I can bring it back. There's more than one way to skin USGS. Okay? Let me back over here to Texas and New Mexico area, because we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We still have several tremors over here. Okay? This one is in New Mexico, it says. They call it White City, New Mexico. This is not New Mexico. This is still Texas. We have a brand new earthquake that just hit here. This is a 2.9 in Texas near the border of New Mexico. Okay, a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake here in White City, New Mexico. It shouldn't come to too much of people's surprise to know that there's an earthquake here. A small earthquake. It's happened before. Okay, oil and gas all over this area. Oil and gas all over the area. Then we come down here into Southern California. Before we go north into Southern California, I want to show you this. This is in El Salzo, Baja California. El Salzo. Okay, where is it near? It's just north of Ensenada, California. This is a 1.8 tremor. Folks, we had a 6.3 earthquake in the same location. This was less than a year ago. That was less than a year ago. This is an aftershock of that earthquake. Going northeast into Imperial Valley, California. This is Holtville. This is Holtville, guys. This is a 1.3 tremor. This is at the seismograph is at the Salton Sea Desert Research Station located in Holtville. Okay? A 1.3 tremor in Holtville, California. And like I've told you before, they may show just one or none. There's usually over 150 to 200 earthquakes in this area alone. Just this area alone. Over here on the eastern side of the Salton Sea, right here, this is Bombay Beach. Bombay Beach is where we have a seismograph here. I don't own it, Caltech does. But this seismograph usually shows us 3.5 to 4.0 earthquakes every day. Every day. Now, why is that not too amazing? This red line that runs down the eastern side of the Salton Sea, that's a San Andreas fault. And it goes right underneath the Salton Sea here at Bombay Beach. So this earthquake fault zone is supplying Bombay Beach with 3.5s to 4.0 earthquakes every day. Down here just south of the Salton Sea, at the southern border of the Salton Sea here, we have two towns. One of them is called Nyland. One of them is called Nyland. Well, guess what is at Nyland, guys? Can anybody tell me what you may have seen me show you here in Nyland, California? What do you think I've shown you? Guess what is right here? Okay? It looks like it's nothing more than swampland. Nothing more than swampland. Guess what this is? This is a geothermal facility, folks, where man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of the Salton Butte volcano to obtain steam here to generate electricity for Imperial Gas and Electric. There are 6 other facilities in the same area. 6 other turbine facilities here. Each turbine facility having 8 different turbines. 6 times 8 is 48 turbines that generate electricity in this area. They have pumping operations to get the steam out from the volcano to the turbines here, all over the southern area here of the Salton Sea. Well, when the San Andreas earthquake fault comes out here, it comes out right here underneath the Salton Sea, right here. It goes just a tiny bit further south right here. Then it turns west down here. Right down here. What else is going on here? There's another there's another turbine facility here. You see the turbines here. Okay? The San Andreas Fault runs down here, and it continues running down here just a little bit further south. Or west, a little bit further west. Then it turns south here. Then it turns south and runs through the entire Imperial Valley, down here even to Holtville. It continues south into northern Mexico, and it runs right down here into the Gulf of California. Then, folks, it runs through the entire Gulf of California and continues to run down here to the to the southern part of Mexico, right along the coast here, right into the Cocos Plate. The San Andreas Fault, guys. The San Andreas Fault. It's no small wonder that this area is getting hit with earthquakes all over this area. The San Andreas Fault. But on the western side of the Salton Sea here, we have another fault, which could be just as dangerous. It's called the San Jacinto Fault. And it runs all the way up here into Orange County and all the way down south here to the Salton Sea. And it doesn't pass far south of the Salton Sea, but it runs down here on the eastern side of the Salton Sea. That's where this earthquake is right here. This is a 1.2 in Ocotillo Wells, California. This is at the base of the Chocolate Mountains. Up here further north. This is also on the San Jacinto Fault. This is a 1.1 tremor. See these other earthquakes right in this area here and going up into here and over to here? These are the top of the Chocolate Mountains. These are tremors here. These are tremors here. It's in the Anza Borrego Desert State Park, northeast San Diego County. Okay? San Diego gets hit with earthquakes. Right here. This is a different fault. You can see the red line running down from Orange County, California, down here into San Diego County, right here. Guess what we have here? This is the Elsinore Fault that runs out of Elsinore, California. Okay? This is why we have these earthquakes here. This is just 3 kilometers south-southeast of Palomar Observatory in San Diego. This is also in northeast San Diego County. Palomar Observatory, a telescope, guys. This is a telescope that reaches into the heavens. I've been in that telescope facility. Right up here, this is actually 1 kilometer away from the Palomar telescope. It's a 2.0 magnitude earthquake. This is a 2.0 magnitude earthquake. Right here, that's the Palomar Observatory. This is the Palomar Observatory, guys. So we have an earthquake just east of the Palomar Observatory, and we have an earthquake just southwest of Palomar Observatory. Okay? Earthquakes in San Diego. Then, just for kicks and giggles, more kicks and giggles actually, guess what we have here? Can anybody tell me what we have here? I get a kick out of this. I get a real kick out of this. Okay? USGS wants to call this a quarry blast. Really? Really? Yes, there's a quarry here. There is a quarry here. But what's across the canal from the quarry? We have a residential area with some industrial areas as well. This is Chula Vista, California. They will not set off a huge explosion that close to the neighborhoods here. This quarry was first blasted before any of those homes were there. They're not going to be blasting this close to any of those homes. This is at the top of the quarry. They're not going to do that. This, folks, is a tremor here. This is a 1.3 tremor, not a quarry blast. USGS is again caught lying through their teeth. Lying through their teeth. This is San Diego County, guys. This is south of San Diego City in Chula Vista. Chula Vista, California. Yes, it looks like oil rigs. No, there's not any oil rigs down here. I guarantee it. I've been there. And then guess what, folks? Not just that. There's a huge auditorium there. There's a huge auditorium in this same area. Okay? Let me pull this up. Right here. Right there. That's the auditorium here. Okay? I've been there. Jimmy Buffett did a concert there in '95. I was there for that concert. That's why I know this area very well. Okay? This whole area here is apartments and homes. They are not going to set off a blast this close to apartments and homes. Right over here, there's a small industrial facility there. Another one over here. Another one right there. No, guys, that's not a quarry blast. Okay? Don Patoga's asking, is it left over from World War II? The quarry probably is. That quarry was probably left over from World War II. I don't remember the last time there was a quarry blast there. Yes, you might ask me now, Ron, has there been quarry blasts here in the last year or so? Oh yeah, USGS has said there's been quarry blasts there in that same area. They're wrong. Nobody's going to have a quarry blast there any longer. Okay? It's not going to happen. That particular mine has been shut down. I called the mine people. It's been shut down. I called the mine people last summer. It's been shut down. Okay? It's insane what USGS thinks they're going to get away with. There's thousands of people that live here. Thousands of people, families and everybody else. It's crazy. Yeah, Don Patoga says maybe it was time delayed, Ron. Uh-huh. Yeah. In fact, guys, I will tell you this. Right here, this housing area here is federal housing for Navy people. This is federal housing for Navy people. I used to patrol this. Okay? Chulawana. We used to call it Chulawana. We even had a song that we made up about Chulawana, Chulawana. Yeah. In other words, it was like Tijuana, Chulawana. Chula Vista was probably 8 miles north of the border. Right at the border, there's a town called San Isidro, literally. And right north of that is Chula Vista. Good old Chula Vista. Okay? Now, let's take you up here. I just love this. I just get the charge out of it. This is Fillmore, California. This is a 1.7. What is right here just north and east of it? This is the Garlock Fault. The Garlock Fault right here. Okay? The Garlock Fault. It runs into the San Andreas right here. The Garlock Fault runs up here into Ridgecrest, whereby, guess what this is? This is a 0.9 1.0 tremor. 1.0 tremor here in Ridgecrest, California. This is a 1.2 tremor also in Ridgecrest. This just happened. This one in red just happened. Okay? These others, this is Little Lake, California. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. Little Lake, California. Over here, this is Cyril's Valley here. 0.9 in Cyril's Valley. Okay? But this area is on fire, guys. Earthquakes are happening. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. Over here, this is San Simeon. My buddy and pal Sage Pup talked about this. Okay? Back 2 years ago, we had a 5.1 earthquake here. This is a 3.1 earthquake here. The seismicity, meaning the strength of the seismic activity, is increasing. We've seen ones, we've seen a couple twos, and now we've seen a 3.1 here. We may be gearing up to see another 5.0 here in San Simeon. That would not surprise me. Again, guess what? This is just north of Southern California. We can see a 5.0 magnitude earthquake hit this area here. San Simeon, California, just south of San Francisco. I fully expect still to have at least a 6.5 to 7.0 earthquake happen either here in San Diego or in Los Angeles right here. I'm still expecting to see a 7.0 here in Southern California, as well as now a 5.0 in San Simeon. All of it says that. All of it is pointing that direction. Now, I just briefly earlier today, I talked about the earthquake capital of California. This is Parkfield, California. We have a 0.8 tremor here. Parkfield, California, the earthquake capital of California. It's on the San Andreas Fault. Okay? North of here, this is Tres Pinos. A year and a half ago, we had a 5.1 earthquake here that decimated an oil and gas refinery operation, broke a pipe that went to a storage tank and caused a rather large fire that burned out of control for quite some time. Tres Pinos again with a 1.1 tremor. This is exactly what happened before that 5.1 earthquake hit in Tres Pinos. Up here, this is just east of Monterey Bay. Interlaken, California with a 1.7 tremor. Further up here, this is another earthquake on the Hayward Fault. This is Alum Rock, California, a 1.3 tremor here. Okay, then on the Hayward Fault further north, we have a 1.6 up here in San Ramon, California. Nothing on the Calaveras to the east. However, right here, and I've been aching to tell you about this all day long since it hit. This is Colma, California again. We've been having tremors here, haven't we? We had a good cache of earthquakes here Saturday, Sunday, and even yesterday. There's another tremor here, a 0.8 tremor here. And earlier today, they took this one down here. We had a 1.2 tremor here near the San Francisco Zoo. Near the San Francisco Zoo right here. Okay? Seismic energy is still here. It's right on the San Andreas Fault. Further up here on that same fault we just got through talking about, Green Valley, a 1.4 tremor there. The Hayward. It's a good old Hayward Fault. And further up here, this is that geysers facility that we've talked about before. The geysers facility, folks, is a geothermal facility here that pumps steam from the Clear Lake volcano to power turbines here in the hills of the geysers. Today, we have a 0.9 there, and right here, this is a 0.7. And these are recent seismic events. And further northwest, they said this is west 0 kilometers. No, this says 10 kilometers west-northwest of the geysers. No, this is in the geysers. This is at the geysers facility. This whole area, guys, belongs to the geysers. In fact, you know what this area is here, and I can't zoom in any further. This is one of the drill points. There's about 3 drill points here in this clearing. They drilled into the Clear Lake upper magma chambers of the Clear Lake volcano. They have pipes that run all over beside the roads here, all the way over to turbine facilities like this. Well, I'm sorry, that's not a turbine facility either. That just is a facility that's in the geysers area. Let me see if I can find a turbine place here. There's another 0.9 there. I just love this place, guys. I get the biggest charge out of this. I do. There are actually 64, count them, 64 different turbines throughout this facility. 64 turbines throughout this facility. They're really all over the hills here. They're all over the hills here. And you can see the roads here. This is crazy. This is just lunacy. Well, doggone it. Most of the time I can go right to these turbine facilities, but I can't find one for the life of me right now. Anyway, just take it from me. There's 84 different turbines here in this area, generating electricity from Pacific Gas and Electric. And Don's living in Utah. He gets electricity from this area. Guess what? The company that provides Don's electricity is affiliated with Pacific Gas and Electric. It's called Rocky Mountain Power. Good old Rocky Mountain Power. So 4 different conglomerates here pull power from this generating station here in Sonoma County. And just north of Clear Lake. This is Pillsbury, California. We continue to get hit with earthquakes. This is a minor earthquake in Pillsbury, California. There's been a lot of them here in Pillsbury lately. Okay? A lot of them. Going up into the southern area of the Cascadia subduction zone, there was an earthquake down here near Petrolia, California this morning, but nothing here now. Not a thing. Okay? We don't have any earthquakes at all reported by USGS, but we know darn well there are. There's plenty of tremors and earthquakes throughout this area, at even the volcanoes, and they're not showing them. So that proves that USGS lies. They lie through their teeth. This one is over in Florence, Montana. It's a 2.2, and it's northwest of Yellowstone. This, folks, is in Mammoth, Wyoming, and it's just barely north of Yellowstone here. Just barely north of Yellowstone. And guys, let me tell you this. Right here, there's another tremor here. This is a 1.5 here. They say it's 45 kilometers east-southeast of West Yellowstone. Really? Really? No kidding. No joke. It's southeast of Yellowstone? No joke. We'll have to see, won't we? We'll have to see. I just don't trust them. Just don't trust them any further than I can throw them. There have been earthquakes all over the world today. Europe as well. Literally all over the world. I had one earthquake organization that's a worldwide organization that I have access to, and they asked me to provide proof that there's earthquakes still happening in Turkey. I did. And now USGS is showing us at least one of those. This is a 4.0. This is near Ekinizou, Turkey. It's a 4.0 in Ekinizou, Turkey. There's over 120 earthquakes there today. Over 120 earthquakes, all of which are aftershocks of that 9.0, 10.0 earthquake that hit here 2 months ago. And there's going to be tremors and earthquakes here for years afterwards as a result of those major earthquakes that hit here in Turkey 2 months ago. Most of the earthquakes here are 2s, 3s, and 4s, just like this 4.0 I just showed you. Okay? They're going to be going for a long, long, long time. Does anybody have any questions about what we've talked about today? I've been literally all over the world showing you earthquakes, and there's a lot more here than they are even showing. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Sage Pup says they want us all to go to electric here in California, but we don't have the power to keep the grid going as it is. Really? Yes, California is run by idiots. You're absolutely right. And yet the number one idiot is going to run for president. Yeah, he's talking about running for president. It's crazy. It's crazy. Excuse me. Carolyn Martin is talking about a 5.1 earthquake over in the Indian Ocean. Doesn't surprise me. It's over in the Indian Ocean, southwest of, I believe it's southwest of, excuse me, Sumatra. Let's go back to the USGS earthquake map real quick. Sorry, my sinuses just go crazy, guys. That's what's going on with me. Let's go pull up that earthquake real quick here. We have this one over in the South Pacific Rise today. That was a 5.5. Probably one of the largest earthquakes that it's hit the world today is a 5.5 earthquake. Over here, this is the earthquake just hit. This is nowhere near Sumatra. This, folks, is on what they call the West Chile Rise, or not Chile. This is in the Indian Ocean. This is a 5.7 earthquake. This is in what they call the Owens Fracture Zone. Maybe just barely south of the Owens Fracture Zone here in the Indian Ocean. This is a 5.7. Now this is the most powerful earthquake that's hit the world today. 5.7 earthquake over here in the center of the, not the center, but the west central part of the Indian Ocean, just south of the Owens Fracture Zone here in the Indian Ocean. Unreal. Thanks, Carol, for telling us about that. We appreciate it. Carolyn's just such a very dear friend of mine. Unreal. Great, great lady. Anyway, guys, does anybody else have any questions for me before we get out of here? We talked about a lot of earthquakes. Over in Alaska, we're getting a good-sized swarm of earthquakes in southern Alaska. I see that area getting a 7.0 earthquake in southern Alaska. That being around Anchorage again. I see Anchorage getting a 7.0 earthquake. And probably a 6.5 over in the peninsula area of Alaska. Lamb's Light season, are we getting more and more earthquakes? Yes, we are, Lamb's Light. Absolutely we are. It's increasing. Even here in North Carolina. I didn't even show you the East Coast completely tonight. I showed you that stuff up in New Hampshire and Quebec, Canada area. Guess what? The entire East Coast from Virginia south into Georgia's been shaking. Anywhere from 1.5s to 2.7, 2.8s, even a 3.0 in Georgia. Savannah, Georgia, guys. Savannah, Georgia. Carol Martin said they're spilling water into Lake Mead from the Colorado River. Not just Lake Mead, Lake Powell as well. Both lakes are filling up again. It's positive instead of negative. Thanks again, Carolyn. You're awesome. Any other questions? Yes, Grace for Purpose. Yeah, Alaska. Alaska's got hit a lot too. We just have not been told about it. That's a problem. We've not been told about it. Look at all these earthquakes in southern Alaska. Okay? It's incredible. It's incredible. This one here, for example. This is the 3.5 near Nanawac, Alaska. Nanawac, Alaska. This one here is over by Mount Redoubt. This is a minus 0.2 above sea level near Mount Redoubt. I'll bet it's right down inside the volcano. Anyway, guys, it's a pleasure being here with you. I love each and every one of you. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all of you here. Folks, I have something else to share with you. And yes, I have a full-blown presentation on what goes into a preparedness plan. I will share that with you tomorrow night for sure. I wanted to share it with you tonight, but now it's too late. Now it's way too late. We'll go into that tomorrow night. Now, friends and family, there are a lot of scriptures here that I love. A lot of scriptures that I've shared with you throughout the years. Okay? This one here I want to share with you. It comes from Hebrews chapter 2. It starts off with verse 1. Therefore we ought to give more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip. For if the word spoken by angels was steadfast, and every transgression and disobedience received just recompense or reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation, which at the first began to be spoken by the Lord, and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him? God also bearing them witness, both with signs and wonders, with divers miracles and gifts of the Holy Ghost, according to his men's will, his own will. For unto the angels hath he not put in subjection to the world to come, whereof we speak. But one in a certain place testified, saying, What is man that thou art mindful of him? Or the Son of Man that thou visitest him? Thou madest him a little lower than the angels. Thou crownest him with glory and honor, and didst sit him over the works of thine hands. Thou hast put all things in subjection under his feet. For in that he left nothing that is not put under him. But now we see not yet all things put under him. But we see Jesus, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he, by the grace of God, should taste death for every man. Every man. That, folks, is the Savior, our Savior of the world, Jesus Christ, that suffered everything for man, that he might be raised up for us, suffering death on the cross for us, crucified for our sins, and resurrected on the third day. Brothers and sisters, I love our Lord. I love our Lord. I bear testimony of him. Everything that we see happening is a result of our own actions bringing upon us the curses that are happening to us now. Folks, it is up to us to follow the Savior. It's up to us to turn this crap off. This crap off that we've caused. Please, guys, pray for guidance. Please also pray for those people around the world that need God's help. Also pray for those people in our EMA family that need help. Each and every one of us needs that as well. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. May God be with you until we meet again. That's my prayer for each and every one of us. I love you to the world and beyond. Have a great night, folks. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, take care. Like I said, God be with you till we meet again. Good night, everybody.